We talk weekly with Dr. Alex Apostle, but he's brought in a great guest this morning as well with us. It's Judge Amber Finlay. Good morning to you both.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Jeff.
Thanks for coming on the air and talking with me today. We're going to be talking about the Community Truancy Board. First off, Dr. Apostle, tell me a little bit about the start of this and what we're learning and how Judge Finlay's involved.
Well, Judge Finlay and Jim Madison, court administrator, are doing a great job. Really taking a good hard look at students and families that are having difficulty making sure their students come to school every day. And it's a different approach, but it's very consistent. The Community Truancy Board is very consistent with the school district and community's effort in terms of Graduation Matters Shelton. We need to make sure that students are at school every day, and they need to have the support necessary to make that happen. And Judge Finlay and the Community Truancy Board are really making an impact. We started this together early, before it became, I should say, state law that every district would have, or in community would have, a Community Truancy Board. But it's moving in a very positive direction, and I just appreciate the judge and others that are working on it. They're making a difference.
Judge Finlay, tell me a little bit about what the process is like when you are put forth with some truancy issues. How does this whole process even work?
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you, Dr. Apostle. But I think a lot of the good work is done by the people who are actually doing the work. The way the process works is, under the law, is a requirement that you do go to school. Mm-hmm. If you have 7 unexcused absences in a month or 10 in a school year, the school district is required to file a petition with the court alleging that the student is truant. Traditionally, what would happen is the student and the parent then would be summoned into court. A court could make a finding that time, or you have a right to have a hearing on it, as to whether or not those absences are unexcused. The court would then take what we call accept jurisdiction, create an order that requires the student to go to school, have no more unexcused absences, and require a parent to make reasonable efforts to ensure that their student is going to school. And then we set it on for review. So a few months go by, and then if the student's not going to school, they could be found in contempt of the court order, and at that time then the court would issue a sanction. Traditionally, the sanction was something like a paper or something to be done in detention. Mm-hmm. The student would be given up to 7 days in detention with what we call a purge condition, a way to get out of detention. And what I think we've discovered over the years in the state of Washington is that was not addressing the truancy problem.
Okay.
We, in this area, had kids on court jurisdiction for years. And they would come in and sometimes going to school, then sometimes not, and then they'd be in detention, get a purge condition, and then they'd be back. And so I know that we've always been in the court that I'm in, always trying to be more proactive. We are a JDAI, Court Juvenile Detention Alternative site. We really try to look at different ways of assisting kids. And so when I became the juvenile court judge, I spoke with Jim Madison, and him and I did some research, looked around the state, noticed that they're doing community truancy boards in other jurisdictions and having great success. A community truancy board is essentially a board that's comprised of volunteers from the community. It has school district personnel, mm-hmm. and it has someone from probation, and they sit down with the family, try to identify the barriers as to why the child's not going to school, and to strategize some ways to overcome that. And after Jim and I looked at this, we decided that this would be a good thing to start with, and we thought we'd start with the Shelton School District. So we approached Dr. Apostle about this, and he was like, okay. And so we started it. We started with a few test boards last year. We focused on the high schools, mm-hmm. and I think we did up to 5 last spring. And we had some really good feedback from them. And so while we were doing that, the legislature passed a law requiring now that as soon as there is a petition filed, the court must stay that petition and send that child, that family, to a community truancy board.
Oh.
So we decided to then broaden what we were doing, obviously. And the approach that Jim Madsen and I took was to have contact with someone in all the schools in the Shelton School District. So we started with meetings with Dr. Apostle and with Pam Farr, and Pam Farr was designated the school district person in charge of this, and she's been absolutely wonderful to work with. And then they designated someone from each school, and then Dr. Apostle sent all of those people, along with Jim and I went to a conference last fall called the Becca Conference. Truancy is part of a series of law that is based on a young girl. Her name was Becca Hedlund, who was murdered, who was a runaway. All these laws come out of that, trying to help these kids before something bad happens to them. So they have this conference every year, and so Dr. Apostle agreed to send all these people to this conference because it was going to be about truancy, along with Jim and I, and so we were able to learn a lot about truancy and how to put together a community truancy board. After that, we then found some community volunteers and started implementing the process with the Shelton School District. Right now, I can tell you that the ESDs are doing training for the other districts, and Jim Madsen is involved in that training. So North Mason and the other school districts in the Mason County area are involved in this process. We met with them early on, and I think they wanted to wait till they had, some more information, and the ESDs are doing a good training with them, and like I said, Jim Madsen's involved with that.
How many, is there a certain age where there's more truancies, or is it it's really kind of just dependent on the family situation? Are there more high school students that fall under this category, or there's still elementary school kids as well? How does the breakout work on these, and how many have you seen over the last couple years since the program came about?
Well, I can tell you right now that we've done over 40 community truancy boards, and that is just from the Shelton School District. It's a lot of high school, junior high. We do see some elementary school, but it's difficult to assess how many are truants. There's a lot of reasons why kids don't go to school, and the advantage of a community truancy board is that it allows you to be a little more creative in hoping to overcome those barriers, and it also, I think, gives more. It's a private setting, so that I think the family's more comfortable in talking about what those barriers are.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things I noticed when I first started this process, before we started with the community truancy board, is I would have families come in to court who their student had 10 unexcused absences, and they would wait till the very end of the calendar and look around and then say, look, he's not going to school because right now we're homeless. It was very difficult for them to talk about this in court.
Sure.
And so the advantage of the community truancy board is, like I said, it's a private setting so that they can sit there and talk about this. It doesn't get disclosed. The community volunteers, do sign confidentiality agreements.
Yeah.
We do provide some training. Last year when we started this, I had Laura Porter come and do a training for the community truancy board, volunteers as well as some school district personnel. Laura Porter is, I don't know if you know, but she teaches about ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. And so it is a requirement under the law that the community truancy board volunteers have some education regarding trauma. And so she was able to provide that for us, and I'm hoping to get her back because the training was wonderful.
I mean, it sounds like a great program that's helping a lot of folks. Yeah, Dr. Apostle?
Yeah, I think one of the things that's very special about the Community Truancy Board and the way Judge Finlay has approached the Community Truancy Board is that it has not been established to be punitive necessarily. It's been established to have a conversation with parents and with students and to see what can be done to support that particular student and family in that particular situation. And I think that that's something that was probably missing before the Community Truancy Board established itself. But it's basically, we care about you, we want you to be in school, what can we do by working together to get you back into school? And that, to me, is the essence of a Community Truancy Board as it's been developed by the judge and the school district.
And it's also probably encouraging that they're moving into whole statewide requirements, showing that, yeah, you guys are on the right path. Judge Amber Finlay, Dr. Alex Apostle, very nice talking with you. Very interesting information. Let's continue these conversations in the future for sure. Good to see you guys, and have a great rest of your day.